Welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Clover. Thank you all for joining. Today, I'll be having a conversation on the topic of legacy as we continue for Black History Month. My speaker today has 40 years experience in pastoral service. He is the Dean of the Mount Olivet Bible Institute. He's also a Christian counselor, a speaker, and the chair for the Cornerstone Shelter. Please help me welcome Reverend Selvin Sitcheron. Reverend Sitcheron, welcome, and thank you for joining today.
You're most welcome. My pleasure.
Okay, because it's Black History Month, we've been given only this short month to celebrate our history here in Canada. So I just want to speak to you on the topic of legacy. What is your definition as you look back at where you've come from to where you are today and to how we speak about Black history today?
Well, if we generalize it, legacy in its broader sense carries a number of definition from the different areas of life and society. Legacy is, in simple term, is a reputation that is left behind by a person, which is likely to affect his or her generation and those close to him or her. Legacy is determined by how a person lived in his or her lifetime, which will become the basis on which he will be remembered. So it is has to do with one's reputation, character, fate, heritage, etc., etc. So it is a wide spectrum, but if we want to confine it as in the sense of fate, reputation, my big take on it is that legacy actually has to do with character.
Mm-hmm. Okay, looking at how you were brought up with your parents, did they leave a legacy that you would think you would want to carry on?
In a sense, yes. Actually, generally, my family has been one that is oriented with a family spirit. There's a great premium placed on family, whether they are past or they're present. They believe that how we live and how we treat and what we provide they go on to speak for us when we're gone. So my parents really believe, I believe, have left us a good legacy of a sense of unison. We need to be remembered in that respect. We care for, share with, and knowing that when we go on, the life we live continue to speak for us.
Pastor Sitcheron, so what is your legacy that you would like to leave for your children, that they can leave it for the next generation also?
Well, let me quote the famous saying which says, the life I live will speak for me. Okay, the life I live will speak for me. Matter of fact, it is very important to live a legacy, a worthy legacy, because as you know, there are variances of legacies. Because some people left legacy that is considered liabilities and shamefacedness. And nobody wants to really remember that. And there are people who live legacy. Take, for instance, if you talk about people like Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela has less a paramount of legacy, but he believes in character and fate more than anything else, because your character is the biggest legacy that will speak for you. And the fate that you exhibit will speak for you. Legacy is important to me in that it will let people know the kind of person who I was. Unfortunately, legacy is only considered in its magnitude or in its right sense when you're gone. You get what I'm saying? We call it legacy. So I believe that I want my sons, my wife, my family to remember my legacy in a positive light and not in a shamefacedness. Because some people have lived their life that nobody wants to remember. That's a legacy you don't want. Whether it's a life of criminality or paramount immorality or a person that is never good to live with.
Mhm.
It is very important for our young people to realize that our life is actually a liability or an asset. And if our lives have been an asset to self, to family, to our community, to our country, especially like celebrating Black History Month, it always will remembered, whether it is on a large scale or small scale, in a positive light. It will be an inspiration to help others to move ahead and to do their best, because when you're gone, it's not over. Your legacy speaks, and that's what I want for myself, that my legacy will be worth speaking of, identifying, inspiring, and allow someone or a country to be moving forward. A matter of fact, I think it was Jonathan Edwards, one of the great missionaries in the history of the world. Jonathan Edwards says, if it is anything that moves forward, I am in for it. So my life should be helping others to move forward. Use it as a stepping stone, use it as an inspiration, use it as an encouragement. And as one writer said, if I can help somebody as I travel along, then my living is not in vain. So my legacy will speak for me.
I know. So legacy is what you live now, you create now, you live by it, so that when you're
That's
gone.
right. That's right. You're painting the picture, or you're making the impact, or you're storing up, whether you like it, yes or no, directly or indirectly. Your life is not chance. Your contribution is not chance. You have, as I say, responsibility as to make your life and those you live with and the country that you serve to be the better. So that's why people say, when I'm gone, I have left behind that others can be better, and the country that I serve or live in will worth it. So let us be reminded of that our life is a legacy in itself.
And do you think, be it tangible or intangible, it's okay to leave more than one, like one individual can leave more than one legacy?
Of course, there is material legacy that we do leave, and there is character and faith legacy that you leave behind. Most time when we talk about legacy, it's talking about the material things that we left, money, property. With our children and our grandchildren get some heritage, which seem to be the primary thing. That is good enough because it is a kind of thing to do, and it's an important thing to do, because we should remember that if everybody has to come to build the same bridge, then nobody will be crossing.
Okay.
Nobody will be crossing. Everybody can't come to be building the same bridge. So we need to build bridges that others can cross and move on. As I said, Jonathan Edwards says, if it is anything to move forward, I am in for it. We have to look at that. We are building bridges, and it's a legacy, and others can move forward. But so therefore, we should take that in very much serious consideration.
Okay. As a Christian youth counselor, any words of wisdom for legacy for the youth?
Oh, sure. As I said, my take is that apart from material, which is secondary, my primary legacy is character and faith. And faith is important because ultimately it doesn't matter what you have, what you own, what you have achieved. Your character and your faith is a good legacy to leave behind. And I have no qualms about that. I know my testimony is sure. I know where my faith is, in whom my faith is. And I said, every single one of us will have to put our faith in something, someone, sometime, somewhere. And I say to our young people, I say to all those who are listening, that be careful of the character that we build. Be careful and make sure that we become aware of the faith that we have and exercise, because they will be not just foundation, but they will be a monument. And I want my faith and my character, which will be others speaking of, my faith will be whether it was tangible, or they might think that they should see it is not just delusional, but concrete, firm. And as the writer says, what I believe, and that is what I stand for. So character and faith will be primarily what I would like to leave behind.
Yeah, character and faith. And in creating a legacy, it's actually being who you are. Your
That's right.
character plays a vital part in that. Okay,
Yes, it will.
any final thoughts for the people of the world listening on the topic of legacy and how important it is to leave something for the next generation?
You know, it's good that you asked me that, because what will your legacy, what will be your legacy? You know, I found a clip. It is not original, so I can't take credit for it. Okay. But I do not know exactly where it came from, but I saw it. I was trying to find the source. But it says, I said, I am personally working hard to ensure that I live, I live something commendable, not only for my children, but the other people that are looking up to me. After going through life and the experiences that others have gone through, I realize that money has an answer to almost anything. It is for this purpose that I desire to be rich, so that my children will not lack anything. I do not desire to live like Eugene Carmen, who spent all his day of his life on one economic activity that did not yield much. He overworked himself just to get enough for the day instead of having some investment. I would instead be like Dr. Myers, who lived a selfless life for the benefit of those around. There is no telling of the people that were touched by his services. He did all he could to ensure that his patients had a second chance. His children too were happy and well fed as he enjoyed a good return for his work. Contrary to people who make so much impact on people's life, like Adam, I don't know who Adam, he says Adam Warwick, I think the name is, but rather undying, was frustrated and uncomfortable. But I would rather be having a meaningful life, a meaningful work, tirelessly doing things to enhance others, to spend the older years batting or dealing with sicknesses in a calm way, pursue and reach the best. I will also ensure that I take good care of my health, but above all, I want to know I leave a good legacy for others to follow.
What do you gather from that passage?
That actually, he's actually emphasizing the fact that what kind of legacy you left behind, your person, your work, your achievement, and your passing. He said that all those are in it. There was a poem that we learned in school that has something to do with similar to this. In his faith, the writer wrote, God be in my heart, rather be in my head and in my understanding. God be in my mouth and in my speaking. God be in my eyes and in my looking. God be in my heart and in my thinking. God be at my end and at my departing.
Wow, that's very powerful, because whatever is within, and if it's God, something good is going to come out.
You
Yeah.
can't escape it.
Oh.
A matter of fact, it doesn't matter how much you deny it.
Mhm.
When it comes down to transition, even the atheist has to think, where do I go from here?
Mhm.
How do I give account
Mhm.
of it? Every man is designed by God, created by God. And he said that every one of us, both faith, trust, hand in hand, somehow we either trust in self or we trust in God. Make sure that our character and faith are very sure and solid because they will speak for us.
Most definitely. And in wrapping it up, Pastor Sitcheron, any final thoughts on the topic?
Yes, I have this. One, think about what is your legacy. Two, what is the importance of legacy? Three, what will be my legacy? Every one of us need to consider those.
Yep. And
Because if there's a clarity of thought, an understanding of mind, and a practice of life, we will be declaring what that will be written without us individually putting pen to paper, because the life we live actually is writing that epistle for us.
okay. And we actually have to ensure that the recipients of our legacy will take the baton and take it on to the next generation.
Well, that is our best desire. I'm not sure much how well we can ensure it.
After we're gone, right? No.
But our best thing is make sure we talk about it,
Mhm.
whether with your children, with your families at large. This is one of the things, because as one of my younger sons said to me, Dad, it would have been better if we talked about it.
Wow. See?
Yeah. And that can be a great failure
Mhm.
in passing on our legacy. We left them to assume. So we don't want to leave them assuming. We want to leave them with clarity in mind, purpose in expectation, and passion to accomplish.
That's
So
good.
my living is not in vain.
Not in vain. That's why we have to set the record straight
Yep.
going forward. I just want to
Yep.
thank you, Pastor Sitcheron, for your input on legacy for Black History Month. It was very informative. I hope our listeners can take away something from this. And that's it for Coffee with Clover on Legacy. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.